Workers of the world, unite! You have nothing to lose but your chains.
The main is just resubs.
Yeah,
that's been on there a while. That's from TS. Deep Space Nine.
Damn. Okay. Wow. All right. Way to go, Rom.
Workers of the world.
That's good. I'm glad he's doing. I hope he's all right.
Quark's brother, Rom. Okay,
Rom.
let's. So here's our cold open here.
Okay, let's do it.
You already took the pensions. You're offering something significantly less. You're not taking into account the cost of inflation. Most people can't even afford their damn rent right now working at Boeing. You shouldn't be living paycheck to paycheck working at a company like Boeing.
I've read Marx. I've read Engels. I've read Das Kapital.
The world is run by Trotskyists.
Hardcore Trotskyists.
How great an anti-American Marxist.
They're controlled by Trotskyists, as you put it, and these are the most evil, sick human beings on the face of the planet.
You're listening to.
Sorry, I was really into the moment.
I don't think we'll ever get this right.
Okay, I'm gonna zip it. I was just a banger of an opener. All right, since you're clipping this, now I'll stop.
Why don't you go and say it?
Okay, you're listening
to the Left Opposition podcast with myself, Chris, Doug, and Joe. How's it going, everyone?
Hello.
Matt has the night off. All right, thank you. I'm glad we have an opening now for the podcast. So we got a lot to talk about, lots of things. We have Israel. This is going to be an Israel episode, folks, okay? So if you're pro-Israel, why are you listening to us? Would be my first question. Second question, if you're pro-Israel, then you should be. There you go. That's it. You should be listening to us. If you're pro-Palestine, listen to us. There it is. Also, we're going to be talking about the Boeing strike. We're going to be talking about the Israeli economic crisis that's going on. And we got a few zingers at the end. There's someone running for governor in a southern state, made some comments. I'm not as a teaser, but boy, this guy, he likes to leave comments. So that's a thing. And Aaron has a little story too. There was a letter written by some students who were concerned about anti-Semitism on campus. And I can only imagine how good of a letter that's going to be. But first, let's get to it. Aaron, what do you got for us today?
Okay, so quick note on the Israeli bombardment of South Lebanon is what happened this week. When I first started these notes, it was 560 dead, and I'm seeing now reports of 1,300 plus are dead in Lebanon. Thousands wounded in the wake of a deadly terrorist detonation of thousands of pagers that killed a dozen people, including 2 children, with 3,000 wounded. It seems likely this seems like a very oddly timed attack, and intelligence may have suggested that Hezbollah were close to discovering the C4 installed when intercepted by Mossad in Hungary when the pagers were built. The grounds for attacking Lebanon are basically nothing as usual. Israel has treated us to more bullshit CGI renderings of houses with full-blown cruise missiles in people's living rooms. In houses with no thermal exhaust, no reinforced concrete base to launch from, no port to launch them from. It's nothing. It's the same horse shit that tried to feed us with the CGI Hamas tunnels below the hospitals, which turned into a nothing burger, right? Remember that? And this shit goes, in my own memory, this goes back to images of Bin Laden's fortress in Afghanistan. You remember that cutaway mountain of an Austin Powers villain lair of armories and networks and storage and barracks with a hydroelectric dam. It could be we are 2 weeks away now from the anniversary of October 7th, a day that will live as the first strike in the liberation of the Palestinian people. The slaughter in Gaza continues, though the IDF is not making as much headway as they'd hoped, and nothing boosts the popularity of a leader like more war, as Netanyahu faces unrest at home. He is a renegade, and he must be stopped, and he must face justice. In the meantime, the workers of the world have not let up their struggle against Israel apartheid, with student encampments ramping up and workers striking at Boeing, which brings us to our first segment tonight. So how's everyone feeling so far?
Yeah, I
Pretty
feel
good.
Yeah. You're talking about genocide. This is World War III. Great. I feel fucking. This is. I mean, how many is it now? 500 Lebanese people have been killed already with 200 airstrikes, and now Israel's trying to claim that, well, we're escalating by
De-escalating by yeah.
I'm sorry. I have a tough time saying it, let alone believing it,
Yeah. Yeah, it's preemptive strikes. I mean, 20 years ago they were saying this shit and about Iraq and shit. Like,
well, that worked out, didn't it? I mean, we won. I mean, Saddam Hussein is out of power and we found the weapons of mass destruction. So
they had the sign saying mission accomplished. Why would they lie with the sign?
No kidding. George W. Bush is a patriot, that's it. But holy fucking Christ. So that is
another 8 billion to Israel this week of military aid.
Yeah. I always miss those cartoons for Iraq as well. Remember, like the mobile weapon labs are on choo-choo trains. Remember that they weren't. There was no real photos, but they had fake photos, and they were driving around, and that's how they were evading the UN inspectors. And then there were no weapons of mass destruction, and 1 million Iraqis died, and we spent like $2 trillion on a war for nothing. Yeah, I know. But George W. Bush is not in jail. Yep, good system we have here.
Yeah, no, it's fine. It's democracy. It may not be perfect, but it's the best system we have, and things will never get better. That's the Democrat platform. Is nothing will get better.
Right? Do you want the other guy because he'll make it worse? I mean, at least I appreciate how they lied to me during Obama. Remember, he was like, "Hey, we're going to shut down Guantanamo Bay," and he was going to do. We were going to get like health care and union workers were to get the Employee Free Choice Act, and they were going to codify Roe into law. And then they did none of that, and things got worse. And they kept bailing out the banks, and then and here we are. Like their failures led to Trump. So now, if we vote for Harris, it's going to make things better again. She's not going to stop the genocide. She's already said that. I don't know what else they're going to do. So
yeah. Not to get too much into other shit, but like, yeah. I mean, it's like, people will then say like, first they'll tell you the bullshit, like, oh, no, she'll be different. And then you're like, no, she won't because of this, this, and this. And then they're like, well, yeah, but what about like abortion and stuff? It's like, okay, what about abortion? Is she going to appoint like 4 more Supreme Court justices so that we can vote it back into existence? Is she going to end the filibuster? Is any of this going to happen? Then don't tell me that she's going to do something about something else either. Like it's just a fucking machine that keeps rolling.
Right.
They've had 50 years to codify it, and they've done nothing. Because they didn't want to alienate Republicans and everything.
Yeah, they did the Hyde Amendment. That's what they said.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
I mean, probably both parties, but yeah.
I mean, we could go down the list. I mean, she's part of an administration that is arming Israel right now to the teeth to mass murder and commit genocide. No ifs, ands, or buts. And I remember I pointed that out to someone, and I used the clever meme that shows like a drone, and like
yes,
there was like the 2 people who are going to be like, oh, it's being sent by a woman. How does it feel, but to be part of history for this?
Right.
And I got called the misogynist. I'm like, no, it has nothing to do with her gender. It has the fact that she's an imperialist politician.
Right. Like nothing. I mean, Joe Biden said it. I mean, what Joe Biden said was true. When he's told the rich donors, nothing will fundamentally change if I'm elected. Promises made, promises kept. Say that about Joe Biden. None of this shit's going to change with Democrats. It's going to take a mass socialist or a communist party and a mass movement to stop this, short of it, because it's great if you want to vote for Democrats. It's just not going to change anything. That's just the problem with it. Versus the guy that's going to bomb genocide. He's going to do genocide and send bombs to Israel, or the woman that's going to do the same thing. Like, I'm sorry. And God forbid, like, in the amount of like, Jill Stein, she's got her problems, she's not a member of a communist or a socialist party or anything. But God, like the hate liberals have towards her is like for calling out the truth by saying that Israel is being funded by the United States. Democrats will do this, keep this, like it's a Democrat right now. Nothing is changing, but she's
they hate her for the actual truth thing she says. Like I actually do not like Jill Stein at all because she's like part of this crank petty bourgeois party. But yeah, she's the broken. They hate her for the broken clock moments. That's it.
Right. Pathetic. So yeah.
All right, so that brings us to our first item tonight is Boeing workers. So on September 13th, 33,000 members of the International Association of Machinist Aerospace Workers walked off the job and onto the picket line. Moods inside the warehouses and plants were exuberant as workers demonstrated with horns and whistles in the weeks leading up to the strike. The strike comes as Boeing has been in the spotlight for its incredible, breathtaking neglect in safety standards as a result of a door exploding and decompressing a flight back in January. And before that, a bunch of fatal accidents from mechanical issues, as well as refusing to update their software to save money. And don't forget, the Boeing Starliner currently has 2 stranded astronauts in space as well. So it really, what comes to mind is Edward Norton's character in Fight Club.
Take the number of vehicles in the field, A, multiply it by the probable rate of failure, B, then multiply the result by the average out-of-court settlement, C. A times B times C equals X. If X is less than the cost of a recall, we don't do one.
So as long as settlements are less than the revenue gained from cutting corners, they see nothing wrong. So so like what can shareholders do, right? Because it's like I often see anti-communist arguments that are like, well, a company has shareholders, so they're already publicly owned and traded.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fucking awesome.
You can buy a share and vote, don't you know? Come on there. Look at that. You can buy, you have one vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got Robinhood on my phone. I can fucking, I can buy $5 of Boeing. Great.
Boom, got your socialism on my app.
So what are shareholders doing to hold the Boeing CEO accountable for this? They approved a pay package for the CEO, Dave Calhoun, 45% up from 2022.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's $45 million in company stock package on his way out. A starting wage for a mechanic is $23 an hour.
That's a living wage.
So yeah, he resigned in disgrace, and they gave him a $45 million in company stock. So
isn't this guy that married his cousin too? I think there's you should look into this guy. He's a bit of a weirdo. Yeah.
So workers' pay only increased a few percent every year, and they voted 99.9% in favor of authorizing a strike, which is like unheard of.
I know this is me being a leftist. Who was the 0.1 guy who was like, was it the CEO? Was he like, get back to work? I'm telling you, you're fine.
It's when Homer was steward, and Carl calls out, all in favor of a strike, and all hands go up, and then all opposed, and there's one guy in the back. Where's
my burrito? Where's my burrito?
So their demands are simple: 40% raise over 3 years, the return of their pension plan, and that production remains in Washington. And this is essential because they've been slowly moving production to cheaper areas like South Carolina.
Yay, non-union, right to work state. Thank you, Nikki Haley.
So this is an example, and this is something I would like to see more strikes kind of follow suit, what they do in this next part. The machinist leaders demand a seat at the table, but we know union reps sitting down with management is nowhere near workers' control. They'd come under constant pressure from the bosses and push the workers to accept whatever bullshit agreement the bosses kick over. So the workers were offered 25% wage increase over 4 years, a far cry from 40% was what they were asking for, which at that point is basically a cost of living adjustment when considering inflation. No pension, no token seat on the board. District 751 President John Holden said, "This is the best deal he's ever seen." And I get this. I've gone through 2 collective bargaining agreements in my own workplace, and we've been told both times this is the best deal you're going to get. And they always say that. And I don't know. I just wish I would like to see more workers kind of stand up. And in this case, they don't want to cause a ruckus. They just want you to accept the deal because they like having a low strike record. I know my union has a very low strike record.
Oh yeah, some are proud of that fact too. Yeah. We don't have any. We don't even need a strike fund anymore.
So anyway, the workers rejected it with 94% voting no.
Good. Yeah.
So there have been problems with this union in the past. So Boeing opened production in South Carolina where workers are not unionized. They could be much cheaper and they could work longer hours with no protection. And so this was a major blow to the machinist leverage. And so the company will just shut down and move production entirely if they don't play ball. And so the union leadership caved in the next negotiation, selling off the pension in 2014. And so this week, I know it's truly astounding.
Yeah. Yep.
Imagine giving away your pension from being from doing machinery like your whole life.
Yep. Please help us. Yeah, the company's gonna cry poor. Oh, we need to be competitive. We can't do this. Things are bad. Like, yeah, their stupid production quota system, which is, say what you want about John Oliver. He did a great video on the problems. The solutions are not, they don't have solutions. But like John, I would say recommend people, the Boeing thing was fascinating. But, they were putting out prototypes that weren't even finished. Like, not like, even like the ones they were rolling out. They could like look through it and see daylight in the hull. Like they were slapping shit together, making shittier and shittier planes that, some of them, crashed. And now because of their shitty, like I said, they're speeding things up, making things worse, causing accidents. People buy less, and there's the cycle. But the shareholder stock goes up. That asshole gets $45 million on the door for destroying the company. It's insane. Yeah, this is it. And the union leadership. Now, the leadership is always different every union, but their leadership sounds like they're pretty bad. If that's what they're trying to tell people. And, oh my God, that's 94% no is a pretty telling thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's also like very uncommon. Like I find when it comes to final votes, it tends to be a little bit tighter. So just this week, the best and final offer, it's called, came down.
Best, last, and final. Yep.
Came down from Boeing because they want to trigger a Biden intervention, just like with the railroad workers, right? The same administration that outlawed, exactly. The same administration that outlawed a railroad strike and forced the workers to accept a contract they rejected. So the strike is costing Boeing $50 million a day, and all they want is for workers to get back to work, right? And so, and this is, go ahead, Joe.
I remember a headline that was like, the strike has already lost $50 million for Boeing and its workers. And I was like, yeah. Do they profit share at Boeing? Is it a co-op?
They do have a strike fund, which does pay. So that does help a lot for the workers.
Sounds like these workers are pretty valuable then.
Weird, huh? Gee.
But we have to remember, and this is one of the most important strikes that I can think of in recent memory. This isn't a fight just for workers' compensation. This is about our own safety as people that use Boeing products, right? So not only do Boeing workers have a chance at recouping the concessions forced on them by neoliberal policies over the years, they have a chance to disrupt and challenge the imperialist machine itself. And they have a unique historic opportunity to take a stand against genocide by demanding an end to all weapon shipments to Israel, where in Gaza, workers are fighting against weapons partially supplied and shipped by Boeing. This demand would gain huge, broad support by the American working class, who genuinely do not want this genocide. And the only weapon we have in the West to stop imperialism is the withholding of our labor. Several unions have already taken up this calling, including the National Association of Flight Attendants, the SEIU, the National Education Association, and the UAW. These unions, while on paper only, have helped make these demands more mainstream. But the more workers we get on board with ending the exporting of violence overseas, the bigger the threat we pose to the capitalist system as a whole. And here's a good article from Left Voice calling on the pro-Palestinian student movement to stand in solidarity with striking Boeing workers and to link the struggle together. This movement has the power to raise the consciousness of the Boeing workers. Many of them are already fighting for bread and butter issues like wages and pension. And so, yeah, it's incumbent on the workers to do it. And, workers all over not just the United States, but the world to see the importance of this fight, right? Because again, we've all, I'm sure some of you have been on an airplane.
And I was terrified if it was a Boeing. No shit. I did not. I was actually trying to figure, I was looking on the plane, through the window, looking through, all right, what is the name? And I think it's an Airbus. I'm like, it was Aer Lingus. Thank God. But yeah, I will actively avoid a Boeing airplane after all that shit, wheels falling off, the wing falling off, doors falling off, people falling out. Back in the 70s, there was they had that little button or a pin that said, unless it's a Boeing, I ain't going. That was for pilots. Pilots, it was a source of pride of how well these planes were once made. Well done. They were for pilots, made by pilots and everything. They went from that to, I will not go on. If I know it's a Boeing plane, I will get a different flight. and whoever gave, like, I never gave a shit what plane I was on prior to this thing, but I am not gonna go on a Boeing if I can help it. So God help us. Ugh. And if I was an astronaut, I probably wouldn't. I mean, good timing, Boeing. You can't even get pilots, astronauts into fucking space and out of space anymore. Holy God. That's what capitalism will do. Eventually, capitalism, it's already outlived its usefulness. The company was only focusing on the stock price. Every day there'd be like a little ticker on the factory floor and showing everyone what the stock price was today. That's all they cared about. This is the Jack Welch capitalist model. For Jack Welch, if you doesn't know, Jack Welch was a CEO of GE, and he was the one, like, there was a plant in Western Massachusetts a lot of people worked at. They closed down a lot of it in order to save money. They dumped all the PCBs and forever chemicals in our drinking water that are still there and polluting everything everywhere. So that, made profit, a short-term maximization of profits. That business model went to Boeing. Capitalism is now destroying Boeing, and I'm glad to see that the workers have finally unionized workers have finally putting a stop to this shit. So yeah, thank you, Aaron. That was fucking great.
So recently at Cornell University, a job fair was interrupted by students. Here it is here.
The kids are great. Oh, here's the state. Oh, there's the police. For those of you who can't start doing play-by-play.
You get the
I
idea.
feel so much safer.
Yeah, why? It's weird. It's almost like the government protects corporations. That's weird, huh?
Come on. I bet you can. Let me name at least one time the police have protected strikers. Let me think.
Okay, I got my pen out. I'm gonna write down.
Okay. You've seen that Nathan Fillion meme or GIF where he's like pointing and he's like, oh
yeah,
yeah.
There we go.
That's the answer.
There we go. Well, I'm sure the police who are on the picket lines are there to probably arrest that CEO. I mean, that CEO and that corporate and that board of directors are probably directly responsible for 600 people being killed on planes. I'm sure the police, every time, that's my favorite thing. Every time there's like a picket line, I go up there and I'll be like, hey, the CEO is screwing these workers over. There's been wage that I start listing off crimes because if I take my money, put my hand in a register and take out $20, that's theft. And the CEO of this company, all of them, like, they do wage theft. And I'm like, well, aren't you going to arrest them? And the police still, even though I tell and I bring out workers, I'm like, hey, these guys they said they got wage theft. Are you gonna go for the boss? The manager is in there. Not once. Like that list Doug and I were trying to come up with. Police just don't ever seem to be there when when there's a peaceful protest. Oh, and then here comes the goon squad. So there we go.
So you may have, I don't know if you heard it, but at one point, students shouted, "We won't work, we will fight. No more jobs for genocide."
Yeah.
So I think that could be shown as solidarity with striking workers. So as Boeing benefits from the exploitation of workers here in the West and the oppression of workers abroad, the struggle for Palestinian liberation is tied to the struggle of Boeing workers against their bosses. Cornell itself experienced a union strike when Cornell workers protested unlivable wages and treatment from the school. And many of these workers showed solidarity with Palestine within the encampment movement. The strike at University of California defended students and faculty who rose up in support of Palestine against attacks from administrators and police. So here we see the unity between the student and labor movement is not only possible, but necessary. The pro-Palestinian movement and striking workers and unionization waves at Amazon and Starbucks have common enemies: the parasitic ruling class benefiting from genocide. Cornell students show us the way forward by building this struggle and identifying the correct enemies, but also unifying with striking workers, strengthening each other, showing that we are stronger together.
Well said.
Oh God, Aaron has a second thing here now. Aaron,
anything to add? Anything to chime in on?
You don't show me dessert and go, do you want to talk about dinner, Aaron? All right. I'm sorry, Aaron. I just want to say now, some people might say, Aaron, let's just just pretend I'm in the IDF and I'm massacring a village. I hear reports, I'm just devil's advocate, I'm an IDF soldier, that there is anti-Semitism on Columbia University, Aaron. I've heard reports.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm not going to go. All right. I'm busy dropping a 2,000 pound bomb on a refugee camp. What's this? Now, did you get my letter? I sent in a letter. So let's see.
Yeah. Very concerning reports coming out of Colombia right now.
Oh, someone call the Senate Judiciary Committee. We really need the Congress to get on this.
So this article's called "I Already Felt Unwelcome. Jewish Students Declined Admission Offers to Columbia Over Anti-Semitism Concerns." Now, obviously, this is on Jewish students who feel unwelcome at Columbia. So you might think, oh, good for them. They're standing up to the administration and their complicity in the genocide happening in Gaza. But it is for the
right?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah. It's for the exact dumb reason you might expect.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, it's I'm not Jewish or Palestinian, but I kind of feel like I'd feel more unsafe if my country was literally slaughtering my family and everyone who looks like them than if some other kids were saying that's bad.
Right.
Like, I don't get mad when people protest Giorgia Meloni over in Italy. So like,
no, good God.
I mean, it's so hypocritical to say that they care about anti-Semitism when Israel is going out of its way to say we speak for Jews. That's part of the whole part of Zionism, to conflate the two, which, every radical who has a halfway decent education understands. No, they're not the same. And also these same politicians who complain about anti-Semitism, they applaud members of the Waffen-SS. They support, there's people like Donald Trump and the Republicans who are pretty much using anti-Semitic rhetoric.
Yeah.
Right.
And they don't give a crap about it.
Yeah.
That they think the real violence is by leftists who are saying, or, anyone who's saying like genocide is bad.
Yeah.
That's somehow anti-Semitic.
Yeah. Well, we're going to get into it, but this Robinson guy said fucking I'm a black Nazi, and no one's talking about it. The ADL hasn't mentioned it.
I mean, is someone going to say that might be anti-Semitic? I don't know. It seems a little anti-Semitic to call yourself a Nazi and be a member of the Republican Party who's running for governor. Yeah, I don't know.
We'll get to that, but I don't know. I think we should listen. I think we should listen to the experts on what anti-Semitism is here. So
okay, here we are.
So some Jewish students who applied to Columbia and Barnard wrote emails to the university turning down their spots after following the news of the last academic year, speaking to friends at Columbia and discussing with their family. Spectator. That's the paper, spoke to 6 Jewish students who were accepted to Columbia or Barnard and declined their admission offer, citing incidents of anti-Semitism and on-campus protests over the war in Gaza. Each of them said that they felt Columbia would be unwelcoming for Jewish students. Sari Greenwood decided to apply it to Barnard after visiting the college for a weekend during her senior year of high school. The idea of a small women's college with access to Columbia's research opportunities appealed to her, Greenwood said, and she felt that her passion for feminism and social justice aligned with the Barnard student body. Okay, great.
Social justice. Great. Awesome. Wow. Well, if she's into social justice, I bet there's a cause on campus you could get behind.
After receiving her acceptance letter, Greenwood plastered her water bottle and computer with Barnard stickers. She then moved to Israel to begin her gap year, where she hoped to learn about Jewish texts and traditions.
Oh, no.
Greenwood was in Jerusalem on October 7th, 2023, when Hamas launched an attack on Israel. So you're in Columbia's in New York, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Are there no Jews in New York that you could learn about?
No,
Jewish texts and traditions?
I don't think so.
That's the funniest fucking part of this. It's like when Israelis are like, "Where are we supposed to go?" I'm like, Brooklyn, like
I don't know,
Long Island.
New York
I saw
City?
one article
Jersey,
like that. It's like we have nowhere else to go, and it's like Dateline somewhere in Colorado.
Yeah.
Right.
During her gap year, 2 of Greenwood's Jewish friends at Barnard told her not to come. She said one of them said she had her start Star of David necklace pulled off during a walk to class. And the other, who is Israeli, said her mental health had declined during the academic year. Now, this is the only incidence of anti-Semitism that we've experienced.
That's
so far.
bad.
If this is real, if this actually happened, which I'm considering how much they lie about everything in this article. Like, I think it's fair to call this into question.
Right. And this is a friend of a friend story. I just might add, well, my friend, she says that her friend is okay.
Yeah, but I think it's worth pointing out, like, that is the first actual incident of like an anti-Semitic attack on a Jewish person that I've actually heard of happening at one of these colleges. Not that something like that never happens, but like, that's the first time I've actually heard a specific example.
Right. And I'm just like, if it did happen, we oppose shit like that.
Sure.
That's it. Like, it's wrong.
A lot of this is anecdotal from these people. And, most of the organized, actually, almost the entire organized, like, pro-Palestinian solidarity movement, they disavow anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
Very forcefully and vocally. And
half of them are Jews.
Yeah, half of them are Jews.
Jews for peace might have a thing to say.
I'm Jewish. I don't practice it, but yeah, it's like I'm very sensitive when it actually comes up. When these people are making up, it's just because they say like the Israeli government is horrible and Zionism is a genocidal ideology. That's not an attack on Judaism. That's an attack on a political ideology and a government.
Yeah,
that's not the same thing.
My other thought regarding this, someone pulling a Star of David necklace off of them, if that was real, don't you think they would go to every single newspaper in the country?
That's what I was just going to say.
Broadcast the shit out of this?
Right. That would have been everywhere. There's cameras everywhere. This is an Ivy League school with security cameras everywhere. They would have gotten the footage and would have been on a loop on Fox News over and over. But instead we have a vague friend of a friend story.
Yeah, exactly.
Really, anyway. Like I said, I'm sorry. Every single thing that's happened has been out there. So I'm just saying, friend of a friend story. I don't know.
So the other friend, who is Israeli, said her mental health had declined during the academic year. Oh, gee. So
a lot of Palestinian children have had their mental health decline too.
Maybe it's the aneurysm your brain is having when you're trying to compartmentalize something so monumental as genocide and like my family can't live unless we exterminate 100 people off this.
They had a tough time when they shut the water and electricity off of Gaza for a bit. That must have been a tough call for them to know that.
When Greenwood saw students organize the Gaza Solidarity encampment in April, she said she felt validated in her decision. To me, the encampment was a sign of like, we're not willing to talk. We're just going to kind of sit here until the administration gives in to our demands, or until we have to be taken away by police. I mean, like, what do you think they were doing?
That is the point, you dummy.
That's what.
How do you go to an Ivy League school and not know how these things work?
They were talking.
There's been fucking 75 years of dialogue. Like, what are
exactly.
you like? It's
what
so
more is
stupid.
there to say? Yeah,
we have dialogue, and then people like still say like, you're anti-Semitic. You want Jews to die.
There's been no dialogue. It's the dialogue of weapons.
That was
That's the only dialogue that the colonizer, the oppressor, understands. They don't you can have the best argument against colonization and dispossession. If they have guns, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Well,
you look at Finkelstein like debating with what's his name?
Shmuley.
That Zionist girl.
No, the guy, the Epstein
Alan
guy. Dershowitz. Yeah,
there you go.
It's like
there's six of them. We'd get this eventually.
Trying to name every moron that he's debated.
It's the same six idiots.
He debates a lot of idiots.
There's that shit which and as you watch those, you have to remember like Norman Finkelstein was shamed out of academia, and Dershowitz remained connected with Harvard or whatever the fuck it was, and then you watch like Finkelstein giving that speech where like the whole crowd is against him, like half of them at least, and there's that girl who with the crocodile tears like
my god, her
and it's like
the crying Zionist.
That's the fucking dialogue. That's the dialogue that's been happening. So and then these people get mad that we're like making a bigger stink. Like, what do you want people to fucking do?
Yeah, there is no form of protest that is acceptable to these people.
Yeah.
Right. The March of Return, which was a peaceful protest. What was it? Like 1,400 people were shot, kneecapped purposely by the Israeli occupation forces. Yeah. I mean, there's no peaceful way to protest. They got more defiant, more this is what happened. They tried every peaceful way to protest, and you shot them every time. It's insane.
Anyway, this article, it gets better.
Her year in Israel really gave her good brainwashing.
That was upsetting to me because that's an indication of a community that's not willing to face these issues in a respectful dialogue. Yeah, we've just been over that. No, that's just this is why your mental health is declining, is because you have to do these insane mental gymnastics all the fucking time.
Holy shit.
Instead of attending Barnard, Greenwood said she is spending the 2024 to 25 academic year working in the Israeli government press office through a national service program.
Wow. And now the interview is happening after this. Interesting time. Oh my God.
So this Israeli propagandist is claiming anti-Semitism. Oh, gee, who fucking saw that coming?
Yeah. Oh my God. This is
you can't make this up.
I know.
It's crazy. So
it's like a German saying people were protesting Hitler. I got offended. So now I'm going to work in the Lebensstrad committee. Like, I don't, what the fuck are we doing here? Holy shit.
Yeah.
Oh.
Raquel Schnall initially decided to come to Barnard because it checked all of her boxes, including having a robust Jewish life.
Cool.
But during the encampments and sweeps by the New York Police Department in April, Schnall remembers thinking, I can't believe I'm going there right now. Schnall decided to defer her acceptance on Barnard and enlist in the Israeli military.
Oh my God. I can't stand the cops beating up a bunch of my fellow students, so I'm going to join the fucking genocide army. Oh, holy shit. I didn't see that.
Unreal.
I didn't think that's where we were going to go with that.
This is your analogy, Chris. You know, it's like, okay, it's 1943. I'm upset at this anti-German sentiment. I'm going to join the SS.
No shit, right?
Oh my God!
Oh my God!
Why do they hate
it?
I can't believe these students holding signs is awful. I'm just going to
offended
and murder their families.
I'm gonna shoot women and children now because I got offended that the cops beat up a bunch of 19-year-olds saying "Stop a genocide." God. Holy shit!
You get into Colombia.
You're a baby killer. Yep. You know, if you actively serve, like there are actual Israelis who actually have some modicum of courage and they refuse to serve.
Yeah.
They go to jail for it. And I completely respect that.
Yep.
That's people. Those are the actual people we support.
Right.
Yep.
Like these dipshit baby killers who are actively participating in genocide and then crying crocodile tears about some made up incidents at Colombia that can go fuck off.
Right. I mean, remember the UCLA, that kid who wore that mask was like attacking the student protesters with like a metal pipe, and then he took his mask off. Yeah. After that, he's like, he went to go join the IOF. Like, that's what he said. Like, these people, there's no consequences for these people. And they think, and they're the victim.
Right.
They're the victim in this.
And this is what I've brought up so many times is like, there's this picture is painted of like, you know, is Iran funding some of this shit? Is like Russia doing this? Is
or
like
China.
Yeah.
Could be China too.
Right. Or is Hamas like infiltrating these groups in the U.S.?
It's
like,
the classic outside agitators shit.
Yeah. And really, the outside agitators is fucking Israel, because there's a fucking direct line from Israel to the U.S. and Europe, where people go and they have dual citizenship. They serve in the IDF and kill babies. And then we're the ones who are like under the influence of foreign powers. I don't know anyone in Hamas. I haven't fucking talked to Hamas.
You literally got military training from a foreign country. Right. Like, you are the outside agitator. Like, the phone calls coming from inside the house. Holy God. Aaron, banger of an article, man. This is, let's just cut everything, and then this is going to be the opener. All right. I need to get another bottle of water for this shit.
Eden Shavit, an Israeli-American student, graduated in 2024 from Columbia's Bridge to the PhD program in STEM, a 2-year program designed for students who have faced barriers to entering graduate programs. Shavit was the first student to be accepted into the program for the computer science department.
Okay, this is good. And it's the end of the story, I hope.
I can't imagine that was easy.
Okay, right. Sounds like a hard-working kid.
There were points where I was challenged academically, socially, professionally, but in the ways I wanted to be challenged, in the ways that I expected to be challenged by Columbia, Shavit said. By fall 2023, Shavit said she found her footing. So she found her footing and decided that if Columbia gave her the PhD offer after her second year, she would accept. Soon after October 7th, her experience started to change. Shavit was troubled by a sense of exclusion at Columbia, describing the messaging of some signs around campus as a systematic exclusion of people who claim they are Zionists.
Okay, so where's the problem? Where does now? When does this negative part of the story start here? I'm waiting. Okay, so where's really, the bad thing?
They were talking about us. They were talking about Israeli students. Shavit said,
"No, no, hold on, no." They're talking about Zionism, and those two are not. They're not linked together. But you could be Israeli and not a Zionist, because you could be a Christian and you can be a Zionist. It's nothing to do with what religion you are. It's not. How do you? Okay, this guy's a PhD. He might. Geez, I hope he gets his money back, because boy, he ain't learning jack shit at that school. But all right, Aaron. I'm sorry. I'm fired up today.
After several months of attempting to cover her Hebrew tattoo and walking on campus and avoiding campus whenever possible, Shavit reconsidered her decision to accept a position if offered. Yeah, I seriously doubt anyone will come after you for a Hebrew tattoo, unless the Hebrew tattoo was like clearly said like kill all Palestinians or something,
right?
Which I'm sure there are tattoos in Hebrew that exist that say that.
So
Side note, if you actually like really cared about Jewish heritage, and this is speaking from a Jewish person, it's like, why wouldn't you be trying to promote Yiddish as opposed to that was like the original, or like the earlier Jewish language that Hebrew kind of supplanted with the establishment of Israel.
They outlawed it in Israel, I think.
Is that true?
Yeah, because they were trying to normalize Hebrew. Oh. They actually outlawed Yiddish because they were so kind to Holocaust survivors in Israel.
Wow. I mean, also he says now the person was covering that too. Now, was this person ever did they self-censor that? Bob Avakian went into self-exile in France, even though he wasn't being pursued. Was this person like, I'm going to cover up my tattoo? Like no one, that meme? Like, I bet everyone's looking at my Hebrew tattoo and everyone's like, yeah, we know you have one and we don't care.
This is just like the regular U.S. conservatives who have the persecution complex that they're people are oppressing them and you can't say Merry Christmas anymore, and that kind of dumb stuff that's doesn't happen.
Yeah,
and it's like they're making up we feel so oppressed because people are upset about the genocide that the state we identify with is committing.
Yeah,
I mean that's really what this is. I've been a college student. Most people, they don't care about your tattoos or anything. They just kind of walk past.
Yeah.
They might take a look. It's like, oh, that's nice or whatever. And that's it.
Right. As long as you have an SS bolts on your neck, I don't think that's the only time I'm going to have a problem.
Yeah.
The people who are literally anti-Semitic, Nazis, those are the people everyone has a problem with. Oh my God, these fucking snowflakes. You're not being attacked. No one's attacking you.
Anyway, last passage is a banger. One accepted Jewish student who spoke on the condition of anonymity, citing concerns for
give his name. Here we go.
For professional repercussions, chose to come to the United States from Vienna for her undergraduate degree due to the presence of the Jewish community. After graduating during the pandemic and working in defense, she applied to the School of International and Public Affairs. And
Strike two. This is not going to go well.
So she had till April to respond to her offer of acceptance. She saw a more polarized campus than before. I was very appalled by it. Perhaps even more, the more sort of historic connection that I had to other locations I've already witnessed anti-Semitism and suffered under it. So this person worked in both defense and they're studying international and public affairs. So more defense, more propagandists for the Israeli state.
Is this a Boeing representative?
I'll bring this a step further. If these people feel uncomfortable, if they feel persecuted, you know what? Good. They should, because you are fucking working for Israel.
Right. They're military. You're literally joining the military.
You identify with it. You support it. You work for it. You get a paycheck from them. So fuck off. I'm glad you feel uncomfortable.
Right. It's it's like you notice how no one's really talking about being targeted for being Jewish, besides the Star of David necklace thing. It's if
that actually happened, that should be condemned
wholeheartedly.
But considering who these people are, I fucking doubt it.
Right. But it's all this other stuff is just they hate us because they call us Zionists. What? You call yourself Zionist.
Right. They didn't say Jews or Zionists. They just said Zionism.
If you work for the Israeli government willingly, these assholes do, you actually are a Zionist.
Right. Like if I was working for the German government in 1943, people would probably call me a Nazi because I would be one working for the Nazi government. Like, yes, like it's not because like you're German. If there was plenty German and Italian Americans who fought against the Nazis in World War II. My grandfather was not one of them, I'm just saying, but that's all I'll say.
There were like German and Italian communists
your ancestors might have been shooting at my grandfather.
Their governments. I mean, come on. It's like, these people, like, they're not getting an education. They're just brainwashed propagandists for genocide.
I show up to campus wearing a "I am a Zionist" T-shirt, and the T-shirt also says "I hope all Palestinians die." And for some reason, I don't feel welcome on this campus anymore.
Yeah, I wore my IDF dog tags around campus, and people started repeating. So, maybe they ripped off the dog tags you were wearing. Like you and Elon Musk are both wearing those stupid dog tags around.
So this is from the student life section of the Columbia Spectator. I'm assuming this is some kind of student newspaper. They found 6 Israeli propagandists and soldiers who, for some reason or another, didn't feel welcome on campus. At no time did they ask for comment from, I don't know, the Jewish Voices for Peace or the Jewish student associations that are also in those encampments, who might have something to say to these people. Probably not, unlike what Doug just said. This whole thing is fucking stupid. This should be embarrassing. And I hope these people are miserable for the rest of their lives.
Imagine you get into Colombia and you're like, there was protests. Like, I'm not going to go to Colombia, you idiot. Like,
I'm going to join the Israeli military because people said Israel's conducting a genocide. So,
one of the comments is, can I recommend that those 6 students shut the fuck up?
Yeah.
I like that person.
That's great. Speaking of Israel, if we're good on this point, I had a little thing about it. Israel proper. It's a place where we've just been talking about, but so this was an article I saw in The Economist called it was can Israel's economy survive an all-out war with Hezbollah? And it goes on to say here that so the article discusses the severe economic challenges Israel is facing amid an ongoing conflict, particularly at the risk of an all-out war with Israel. Their GDP has slowed dramatically down to 0.7%, which is way lower than what they thought it was going to be, which I think they're going for a 6% growth. And their economy has shrank by 5.7% in the last months. One big thing that is happening is capital flight from Israel banks. That has doubled, with $2 billion leaving the country between May and July. Investors are nervous about Israel's financial future, and the rating agencies have already downgraded the country's credit rating once. The shekel is volatile, and the Israeli banks report an increase in its customers moving money abroad. The construction industry has been particularly hit, as the denial of permits to 80,000 Palestinian workers has left the sector 40% smaller than last year, affecting housing and repairs, along with 300,000 Israeli citizens who've been called up to take part in the genocide. Inflation has risen to 3.6%, further compounding economic woes. There have been concerns that the escalation with Hezbollah could spread to key cities like Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, which would significantly worsen the situation, potentially toppling banks, devaluing the shekel, and forcing the Bank of Israel to intervene. Now, some workers have returned to their jobs, but the economy remains smaller than pre-war levels, and the prospect of growth, especially now, it was already not doing well as it was, but it looks like, they're trying to start up the war now, so it's going to probably go worse.
Yeah.
And another point too from this, that another thing that's happening is the brain drain that's happening, and this one was from the Telegraph. They discuss how the ongoing conflict between Israel and Palestine has led to a growing brain drain from Israel, especially among highly educated professionals. Probably a few people from wanting to go to Columbia. People such as researchers and doctors are leaving the country due to safety concerns, and this talent exodus is particularly alarming for Israel's crucial tech sector. A Nobel laureate warns of a, quote, huge wave of departures, and many Israelis feel uncertain about their future. Rising costs of food and housing, combined with the deficit and increased war spending, further add to the strain. The conflict has also disrupted industries like the agriculture agriculture and construction, with labor shortages intensifying over the economic pressure. Over 12,000 Israelis have left and did not return since last year. And also, obviously, their tourism industry probably not is now been suffering pretty badly. Going on vacation is becoming more expensive as foreign airlines have pulled away and those operating have hiked prices. Meanwhile, the shekel is also weakening against the euro. So that's a longer decline. And according to, I think the article you got there, Aaron, on screen, that Codeface BDI, an Israeli research firm, as many as 60,000 businesses could shut down in 2024, with the company also claiming that many smaller sized companies are struggling. While the economic activity hasn't fully collapsed, there are growing concerns about the long-term impact of the conflict if it escalates. And the article kind of reflects a widespread fatigue and fear about Israel's future, even among older generations. So those are two things I just wanted to touch on. So their economy, they're having, now Hezbollah, they picked up, Gaza cannot fight back. Really, they couldn't do much. Hezbollah has reportedly over 100,000 missiles they can shoot, and even I think last week, missiles from Iraq, Yemen, and Lebanon have been hitting them down. So, I think the article talked about a doctor who's now they have 90 seconds to go into a bunker, everyone has to go in a bunker and hide, and that economy is going to not do well. So
Israel, historically, when they fought the big wars, like in 56 or 67 or 73, it's tend to be very quick wars.
Sure. Yeah. 6-day war.
The 6-day war. And that's against regular armies. And Hezbollah is like an irregular force. And even what they're facing in Gaza, it's like a lot of irregular stuff that's going on. And they don't have the capacity like the US during World War II. They obviously have the US backing them, but the analogy is kind of like to South Africa, because towards the end, if you think about it, South Africa was facing from the internal anti-apartheid movement a lot of resistance, but they're also occupying Namibia. They were fighting the Cubans in Angola, and they were, engaged in military and terrorist actions in Mozambique and in Zimbabwe. They were stretched incredibly thin. Plus, internationally, South Africa was pretty much isolated, except pretty much the US, Britain, and Israel for the most part.
USA.
So
great.
Israel, I've seen some right-wing ministers say the country won't last in 2 years. Now, these are people who obviously want to, continue massacring people, but even they're a bit worried. And there have been protests against Netanyahu. Granted, it's not from an internationalist perspective.
Right. Yep.
But they have happened. Again, it's not from an internationalist Marxist perspective. But, since this has happened, whole countries have cut off the spigot, for arming Israel. And like you said, all that stuff you said, that's going to be a freaking squeeze. And if they expand the war, it could completely collapse.
Right.
And even in the US, which has been historically Israel's most consistent and stalwart backer, even Kamala Harris has had to do empty rhetoric about working for a ceasefire. She's not going to do it.
No.
But the fact that she actually has to say it is telling, just because there have been, in Colombia and elsewhere, all these huge student protests and encampments. And Chris and I have been around long enough. I don't think we've ever seen that level of public support for Palestinian resistance in the US.
Not even 10% of what we're seeing.
And that's very encouraging.
Yeah.
And that's that all of that's putting the squeeze on them. And I don't know. Aside from the Palestinian Arabs who live within Israel proper, I don't know what other segment in Israel society, could do anything. None of the parties, even the so-called Israeli left, which is garbage, is positioning itself to lead or to do any sort of revolutionary defeatism or anything like that to deal with the whole question. And I'm not sure does Israel just have a death wish and they just want to lash out at everyone thinking that they can just bomb everyone to oblivion?
Right. Well, you have the United States, subsidizing your entire economy. Yeah. I mean, they'll do a bailout over them. We have all the money in the world for bombs and arming people, whatever, but we can't give student debt relief. We can't fix roads and trains or anything. We can't give health care to people who desperately need it. We can't make medication free for people who are sick. We can't give a social security to elderly people who desperately need a pittance of what they're getting now. But another part of this article too about the economy that I just want to touch on too is so this article is from June, but this is related to the whole thing about why their economy is not doing well. It's because, and let me just get to that right now. So this thing here, this is from a Jacobin article. Colombia's coal embargo is on Israel's model to follow. So the article discusses Colombia's decision to suspend coal exports to Israel as a protest over Israel's genocide. Colombia provides over 60% of Israel's coal. The Israeli energy sector, I believe, is 25 or 26% run on coal. So this isn't nothing. They do have other forms of it, but this is a chunk of their energy, which they desperately need. Obviously, to run those server farms 24 hours a day with their tech industry, which is a very, very big part of their economy, that's taking a hit. You're losing those workers who are fleeing this whole thing. They're going to work abroad. Fuck it. I'm not going to go through this shit. The rich people are the first to run because they can. The poor Israeli working class people, they have to stay and do shit there. But yeah, remember, these people, they're going to go out.
Yeah, this is also going to just mean like a rise in energy prices in Israel. I don't know like where they're getting most of their oil as well. That'd be something worth checking out.
I want to say, Russia might be it. I think
maybe I don't know, but wherever even like you said, if it's 25%, if there's like it's 60%, yeah. The energy prices have to go up, just like heating your home. I don't know how much of the government subsidizes that. And here's another question. Are they going to get so desperate if like people are fleeing and there's like a labor shortage? Are they going to like start be just out of sheer necessity have to like promote like Palestinian people in Israel itself to like jobs, like go through their whole racial hierarchy? That's not going to go over well with a lot of people there. No. That's would also cause some unrest, I'd imagine.
Right. And the point I brought up earlier, 300,000 Israelis have been called up. They have to leave the job. 60,000 Palestinians, they're out. And so 12,000 people left and they're not coming back. So they're staying out. And that's the brain drain that's happening. But let me just talk a little bit more about this. Because what I like about this the most, the decision. So it's not Uribe, oh God. I can't think of his goddamn name.
Oh, it's Gustavo Petro. He's like a social democrat.
Yep. So the decision was made by President Petro, but also was driven by the Colombian trade unions and indigenous groups who, in solidarity with Palestinians, demanded an end to these exports due to both Israel's military actions and negative impact of coal extraction upon Colombia's coal communities. There's a long, great quote. It's too long for me to read, but this is the tech part I like the most. And this is from the Coal Miners Union. Stop the production of metals, minerals, and fuels that are used in these wars. The planet is on the verge of a new world war, and it is the workers who can and have the obligation to stop this threat against the existence of the human race. The global energy embargo for Palestine, a wider campaign initiated by Palestinian groups, aims to stop energy supplies that support Israel's military operation. This includes calls for other countries like South Africa, which is also another big supplier of coal, but I think it's only around 9% of their coal is from South Africa. Brazil to a lesser extent, to follow Colombia's example. Although Israel has had reserves of coal to cover its short-term needs, the suspension is actually they had a coal reserve, it's out. So that's it. So they're all out by now. And the other thing too that happened as well is that the first episode of the podcast I talked about how Intel had invested $25 billion into building a chip factory. Well, this thing too that happened also in June. Intel has paused construction on a $25 billion semiconductor manufacturing plant in Israel. The company informed a local construction firm to halt work indefinitely. While Intel didn't provide a specific reason, it cited factors like, quote, business conditions, market dynamics, and responsible capital management. It must be business conditions. Suggesting financial considerations may be involved. Intel has been seeking external funding and government grants for its global projects, including this one. Additionally, although not mentioned by Intel, the ongoing conflict between Israel and Hamas might be another factor. Might be. The halt comes after Intel had received a $3.2 billion grant from the Israeli government. There's your corporate welfare, and allows the cancellation of a previous project in Haifa. Intel's global expansion plan aims to compete with major chip makers like Taiwan Semiconductor. And ironically, so this was announced on the 11th. 8 days later, they said, oh, by the way, we're going to build a plant in Poland. Business conditions and such. So Western corporations.
That's kind of ironic.
Right. Here's the thing. remember, corporations don't have any loyalty to you. They have loyalty, and that's the thing. This is why their economy is hurting. Capital is going to move to, well, there's an ongoing conflict. I'm not going to invest my fucking money in there. Good God, but my plan's going to get blown up, and there goes my investment. The capitalists will move their investment somewhere else, and that's what happened. So this is why the Israeli economy, people, like I said, if you're looking to invest money, you're not investing jack shit in Israel right now. This is going to hurt them. So their genocide, at least, economically, I mean, sadly, this might actually cause a general strike. This is why people, like I said, I think Doug and Aaron might have said this too, but all those protests were not because, oh my God, what we're doing to the Palestinians is terrible. It's like our economy is doing worse. Things are going down. Businesses are shuttering. That's what's a really big driving factor. That's why the Israeli, those bullshit unions they have that only recently allowed like Palestinians in their union, like in the 80s. Of course. Kind of just called off their strike. But so those are my 2 points on that.
I will say, to get a better idea of what the scale of what it is that we're looking at here, 60,000 businesses. Now, a small business is defined as something with like 4 employees or more. And so that's already at minimum like 250,000 workers. That's like pandemic era level of job loss. Like it is catastrophic, and it's circling the drain. And all I can say is more.
Yeah, especially for a place with, what did they say? It's like the population of New Jersey or something, or the size.
Yeah, it's
of
a
New
small,
Jersey.
right? Because as an American, you're like, well, that's not that many people. But yeah, you're right. It's a very small country with a very small population, which is, anytime you leave Massachusetts, where Doug and I and Joe are from, I was in California, I was in like San Francisco. And I'm like, can we go to LA? Like, I'm always, can we drive there? And they're like, it's like a 10-hour drive. I'm like, no shit. I thought, I think everything's like 3 hours away max. So I'm like, all right. So yeah, you realize how small things are. So yeah, holy moly. But yeah, their economy, it's just, this is not going to do well. And, I mean, granted, Hezbollah is not a modern army. They're technically a militia or paramilitary, but they're a very, very, very well, they have some like professional grade weapons. They didn't make these out of like scrap metal like the Palestinians were doing. Like, this is stuff that's made. A lot of this stuff is like, a lot of North Korean and Chinese parts into it. Like, they got the real goods. This is, and like I said, there's 100,000 Hezbollah fighters. And after that terrorist attack, the mood is like, people are definitely wanting to get revenge for that terrorist attack, which killed, I think, 2 children as well. But yeah, we'll see. All right. I think we're going to take it down a notch. Do we want to calm down a bit? Because I know.
Let's have some fun.
Okay, Aaron. I got a video clip here from a politician. If you want to just cue that up, because on the Left Opposition podcast, we do want to give everybody, even those people who might be accused of saying some things, let's give them their fair due. Because I don't like to start at the end of something, but we got some things here, so let's hear it. This is the current lieutenant governor of North Carolina has had a few accusations hurled his way. So, Aaron, if you may.
Hey guys, Lieutenant Governor Robinson and your Republican
sound is on point.
Governor as well, of course. Well, guys, the news media is at it again. My opponent is at it again. You all have seen the half-truths and outright lies of Josh Stein on these ads over and over again. And now a story leaked by him to CNN is appearing now. Let me reassure you, the things that you will see in that story, those are not the words of Mark Robinson. You know my words, you know my character, and you know that I have been completely transparent in this race and before. Folks, this race right now, our opponents are desperate to shift the focus here from the substantive issues and focus on what you are concerned with to salacious tabloid trash. We cannot allow that to happen. And folks, we've seen this type of stuff in the past as well. Clarence Thomas famously once said he was the victim of a high-tech lynching. Well, it looks like Mark Robinson is too, by a man who refuses to stand on stage and debate me about the real issues that face you. Instead, they want to focus on salacious tabloid lies. We're not going to let them do that. We are staying in this race. We are in it to win it. And we know that with your help, we will. God bless you, and we will see you where? On the campaign trail.
Now, just a little bit of an update. He didn't go out on the campaign trail this week. He actually canceled a lot of appearances. Now, for an innocent man, I'm just saying, if I did nothing wrong, I wouldn't be canceling my appearances and everything. But one thing, just to point the record out here, he said
he cleared that up, right?
Right now, I don't know why. You know what? Maybe I should just cancel this bit. I mean, I think. Well, let me correct him. He said it was like a minute 20 speech. It got two things worth pointing out. One, he said CNN leaked it. No, this was actually right. This is a right-wing outfit. Like, they did it themselves. They found this because he's such like he's not an idiot. Like, it's not like this guy was a professional, like, those people that ran for like town council and worked their way up. This guy wasn't that at all. Like, he went viral for making some comment about guns, and that's how he became famous and everything. But it wasn't CNN. It was actually right-wingers who were like, went to the campaign and said, drop out of the race or this is going to come out because you're not going to ruin it for us. He chose not to do it. And this is what happened. That's interesting because boy, oh boy. So I have to say, so there's a site called, it's called Nude Africa. Now, I just want to let you know, don't Google things like that because, boy, my search results are going to get weird for the next few days. But I mean, there's a special kind of person who registers accounts to porn sites and posts lewd and bizarre things on it. Besides Doug and myself, that's kind of a weird thing to do. But apparently, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson is that special kind of person. He said a lot of weird things between 2008 and 2015, 2008 and 2012. Robinson shared his full name on the porn site. Fucking Christ. And was a frequent user of his message board, according to the bombshell CNN report. He also used an email address on the site that he used on a number of other sites. He also used the name Mini Soldier on other websites, and CNN matched Mini Soldier account to a large number of biographical details shared by Robinson. Also, I think his Twitter handle is Mini Soldier. Like, it's the same fucking thing, you idiot. Holy God. So there's a few things here. So here we go. These are some of his quotes here. I am a black Nazi. Now, no one's ever accused fascists of being the smartest people or the sharpest knives in the drawer, but
or consistent.
Or holy shit. Get that when he was talking about Martin Luther King, he was on the Mall of America. He said, "Get that effing commie bastard off the National Mall. Martin Luther King was worse than a maggot and a huckster." And he said, "I'm not in the KKK. They don't let blacks join. But if I was in the KKK, I would have called him Martin Lucifer Coon." He also said, "Slavery is not bad. Some people need to be slaves. I wish they would bring it back. I would certainly buy a few."
Does he think that he's going to somehow be exempt? Like, if
does he like to think, oh, it's okay, he's one of ours, that's it? And also he said during Barack Obama becoming president, "I'd take Hitler over that shit that's in Washington right now."
Okay, that's an opinion.
That is right. I'll be honest, J.D. Vance, noted piece of shit and anti-charisma candidate, vice president J.D. Vance, even had to give like a lackluster, well, some of those things are pretty bad, but that's up to the North Carolina voters. Trump is not doing any campaign appearances with him. And I mean, the guy he's running against is like this milquetoast, boring as fuck guy who's named after I support America because I'm an American. Like, he's like that kind of like Democrat. I mean, his interview on CNN is just, all he has to do is just keep, like, all his interview was like, well, I didn't say that. Robinson was already down 10 points. Like, this is the same guy that was going to like a porn video store like 5 days a week to go one of those like jack off rooms or whatever. Like, he brought a pizza with him to the porn store to watch porn and hang out and talk to people.
He's also like, I think it came out like that. He says he watches trans porn, but he also, in his public statements hates trans people, thinks they're degenerates and wants to kill them and this kind of shit. And it's like, first of all, I don't care what type of porn people like, but you are a fucking real sleazebag hypocrite if you can say stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's fun to poke fun at these guys, but like, there's no weight in calling them hypocrites at this point anymore. Right. Like, it's pointless.
Yeah, I know.
Completely pointless.
Every accusation is a confession. Like, and I'm with Doug. Yep. Like, I don't care But when
No, I
you
don't
are
care.
actively trying to destroy the lives of trans people, gay people, trying to like ruin them, going after kids who are gay, like, and now, and on top of it, that's what you fucking jerk off
And
to,
also,
okay.
didn't it come out that he had his wife get an abortion like in
the
late 80s? And of course, he wants to pretty much outlaw abortion.
Yeah.
Right.
Like, screw you, buddy.
Because he's part of that. He's part of that class where any mistress that he has on the side will absolutely have access to abortion, regardless if they ban it or not.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Just like the rich people will
just
get
like the
it.
slavery thing. Like he thinks he's exempt because he is part of that power. He's part of that
leopards
power
eating
class.
people's faces party.
Yeah.
Good use of that.
It's like how many of the fucking founding fathers and shit were like you can read some of their writing about black people.
Thomas Jefferson.
It sounds like the KKK. Like it sounds like fucking Rush Limbaugh or something. Like it's nuts. But how many of them fucking like raped their black slaves? And it's like, oh, well, they're okay for you to fuck, but not like to be people in other ways. Like they
talk about freedom and like, and they compare everything to slavery. Like England treats us like slaves. Like, dude, you own
There's the
slaves.
political chart that like alignment, and it says like for the right, it says like everything is slavery except actual slavery.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. No, they said Medicare for all is slavery. That's a Ben Shapiro argument.
Oh my god.
Oh my fucking god.
No, I hate these people more than anything. I know Alex Jones was also caught with trans porn on his phone. He left his phone open. Yeah, no, these people do everything they can to make the most marginalized people in society's lives even more miserable. And and they can't help it because that's the interesting point you brought up about the raping of slaves, because rape is, again, it's about power. It's not necessarily about just getting your rocks off, right?
Yeah.
So always something to keep in mind. And just when it comes to stuff like this guy is just like, I don't know, is he one of a kind, or is he just part of that like hypocritical, like just like barely we talk about Republicans on this podcast because there's almost no point, because they're so cartoonishly evil that like we all know who our enemy is, but every once in a while a special character comes along.
It just really knocks it just blows you away,
Yeah.
Well, I'm a black Nazi. I never thought that. I thought there'd be like an SNL skit or something, or like a joke.
It was a Dave Chappelle sketch.
Yeah, right. Like Clayton Binsby, the black white supremacist. Yeah, like it's a joke, and then the joke becomes real. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, well, what I always say now is, the Republicans are the worst, but the Democrats are standing in the way of those of us who want to actually destroy them.
Exactly. They're the ones who are like, hey, during the this one was a big one because happened in my life, but the occupation against Scott Walker in Wisconsin to shut, when they're attacking union rights, it was the Democrats who were like, hey, everybody, why don't we just walk out of here and do an election in 9 months once we lose all our leverage and everyone forgets about it, and that's what we'll do. They're, like I said, the Democrats are the more effective evil. Everyone will stand up to Trump. I've been to so many during the Iraq War, thousands, tens. I mean, that was that day in March in 2004 when it was like over 4 million people worldwide protested, all on the same day in France, England, Germany, everywhere. When Barack Obama was doing the same shit, bombing Yemen, starving out countries, like I said, Doug and I had said, you'd see a protest against Israel, maybe 80, 100 people tops, but now finally people are waking up to this shit, and that's why the Democrats are punching left. Like I said, Jill Stein, she's got her problems. If you don't like her, that's cool. If you do like her, that's fine. I get it. But that's why they have to punch left, and they have to blame anyone to the left as the real problem. Defund the police is the reason why all these right-wing Democrats lost. It's like, it's like I said, it's never their fault.
Yeah.
Here's some non-porn quotes by Mark Robbins.
Wow.
Oh, well done, Darren. All right, what you got?
Whether you're talking about Adolf Hitler, whether you're talking about Chairman Mao, whether you're talking about Stalin, whether you're talking about Pol Pot, whether you're talking about Castro in Cuba, or whether you're talking about a dozen other despots all around the globe, it's time for us to get back and start reading some of those quotes.
All right. Let's start reading some Castro.
For the Pol Pot stuff, that's good.
This is a little confused, isn't it?
Okay, look, I'll be out with it. Most of this podcast are huge. We're the only Trotskyist this podcast that are actually pretty big fans of Pol Pot.
Yeah,
so, you know, we will be denouncing blowback pretty soon.
Killed.
All right.
Like,
Democratic Kampuchea achieved their skull-based economy is going to surpass the Soviet and the sellout Maoist Chinese economy. So that's why socialist Vietnam had to invade them, because they know they were onto something. So Pol Pot, we stand with you in solidarity.
We demand the fiat currency be replaced with skulls.
That is what they did.
And
they abolished money and went to a skull-based economy.
They went to a skull standard.
There you go, you bunch of glasses wearers trying to tell us what's up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We now find ourselves struggling with people who have evil intent. You know, there's a time where we used to meet evil on the battlefield. And guess what we did? We killed it. Robinson said, continuing, kill them. Some liberal somewhere is going to say that sounds awful. Too bad. Get mad at me if you want to. Some folks need killing. It's time for somebody to say it. It's not a matter of being mean or spiteful. It's a matter of necessity.
That's kind of weird, but okay. All right. And they come at Comrade Pol Pot. Jeez. All right, buddy.
Okay, this is pretty insane. Robinson said earlier this month during a campaign speech that transgender women should be arrested for using women's bathrooms, adding
ironic
at another event. Yeah, right.
Wow. What are you into, buddy?
He said they should just find a corner outside somewhere. Now that seems awfully specific.
What?
I want to watch.
No shit.
Go
this
do
guy.
It, go do it in public.
There was a very explicit thing. He had you can Google his wife's sister. That's a banger of a comment if you want to get
apparently
sick.
doesn't exist.
No. Well, then she didn't, but then she did. I guess maybe it's like a stepsister or something. I know. I was. Oh, there. Oh, wait. There's Mini Soldier. I know. I've been trying to find it, but oh god.
Oh, and he tried to pin it on his kids. I think he tried to blame his kids.
What a scumbag!
Kids under the bus.
For signing up.
For
using his name to sign up to stuff. Like
that's a sucker punch right there.
Just own it, dude. Just own it.
Oh, come on. Who here hasn't done that classic prank? Right?
Yeah.
Wasn't this?
So okay, hold on. So Aaron, let's read. Let me just. I have no idea what this is going to say. I'm going to stop once I get nauseous.
I'm not reading this.
Oh God, no.
This
Okay,
wait. This is not.
All right, I'll stop when it gets bad. This is written by his children. How old is this kid this time? 3, 4?
Yeah, right.
All right.
This is from 2008.
2008. Wait,
still a grown adult
Did
here.
he have kids then?
He has 2 kids. I checked.
Right, but this is 2008. How old could those kids? He got married in 1980.
Teens, I think, if they were actually doing this.
Okay, so the kid's about 7 okay, fellas, let your girl think she is in control and you can do what you want. I've been married 18 years and I've okay, you know what? Let's not. You know what? I mean, like I said, I also register. I'm also a nude Africa. I don't write that stuff. All right, that's where I draw the line. But
anyway, go check out. There's a recent episode of Chapo Trap House that they go into very explicit detail.
Oh, they did. Yeah, that's where I heard that. Yeah,
even they broke down and couldn't finish it.
Yeah,
even those guys were like,
"No,
there's a
lot of pee.
This is too much for us." Yeah, piss.
Yep. Uncle Ruckus is, and they made Uncle Ruckus in real life. That is amazing. If you're a Boondock fan, that's amazing. But boy, oh boy, and he's trying to say this is a setup or something.
Robinson rejected offers of tech help to investigate.
Wow, O.J. Simpson does not want a special investigation. Murders he might be charged of.
I'm being set up. I'm telling you, it wasn't me. Well, we can find out who did that. No, don't do that.
Oh my god.
Okay. All right. Well, I think that we're just about on.
We
time.
did. Yeah, we did it.
Banger of an episode.
Yes.
I do just want to throw in one more quick story. The Merrimack 4 who shut down the Elbit facility in New Hampshire, which Senator Jean Shaheen said,
Democrat.
She described this as people harassing a Jewish-owned business. Elbit is a weapons manufacturer.
Oh my god!
But the Merrimack 4, which includes Boston's own Calla Walsh, who's a really cool young activist, defeated felony charges, will serve only 60 days in jail.
Wow!
This is the PAL Action funded operation that are so cool. Like, these are the people taking like real risk.
Yeah. Good. Direct action gets the good, man. IWW. That's what we're talking about. Is there like a bail? Is there a legal fund or anything? Is there anything people could donate to, or is it a done deal?
I think this is one of those. There's like a weird guy who like funds this group.
All
so
right.
I don't know if there's Pal Action is the organization, so they might take donations. But yeah.
So PalestineAction.org Defense Fund, you can donate. So all right, so I just see right here, but there is a donation fund for the Defense Fund, so please do help out there. Like I said, even though it is clearly an anti-Semitic attack, thank you, Democrat Gene Shaheen, for a small mom and pop shop named Elbit. Now, I don't know what they do. They probably bake cookies for orphans or something. Yeah, right. But that is what a terrible act of anti-Semitism we have here. Hopefully some of those Columbia kids could maybe go there and work for Elbit at the mom and pop shop. Whatever they fucking do. So, all right, cool.
We had someone in chat asking about a reading group. We mentioned
I know of it.
On Tuesdays. We're currently reading Lenin's What Is to Be Done.
Yeah.
I sent this person an invite to the Discord. I hope that's okay.
Yes, please. Yes,
if you are interested in an introductory class in Marxist theory and texts, we have lots of very, very smart people who can walk you through it. Some of the language can be very archaic and dated, and there's lots of historical context. Even I get overwhelmed at times, but these texts are designed for workers like listeners like you.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Our mandate as Marxists is 100% geared towards education of the working class. So if you are interested in joining a reading group every Tuesday, feel free to reach out to us. Either
hit us up on our social media accounts too. So I reactivated Blue Sky. So Blue Sky, Left Opposition Podcast. Threads, Left Opposition Podcast. Instagram, Left Opposition Podcast. Facebook page, Left Opposition Podcast. Patreon, Left Opposition Podcast. So those are 5 ways you can, or you can email us at the Left Opposition Podcast at gmail.com. So you have 6 ways to reach out. We do check them. So please hit us up. We will gladly give you, it's a Discord. I know some people also, I think we had 15 people came to the last one. We usually get 15 to 18 people per week. We do have a social after too if you just want to shoot the shit, but we're gonna get like I said, if you're shy, and a lot of people have never been to a reading group. I know you might you like the show, but the main thing, political education is not an optional thing. It is a must. You have to give yourself a Marxist education. If you're a Stalinist, a Maoist, a Hoshist, it doesn't matter. We're reading this is the Marxist classics. Yeah. That's it. Whatever you are, as long as you're not a patriotic socialist.
That's what happens if you don't have a political education. You end up like
right.
You end up
we don't want people to end up like them.
Like Jackson Hinkle and Alex Jones.
Right. We will, and I'm going to go on a limb. I'm sorry I didn't talk. If Jackson Hinkle are making you an offer, if you want to come and read actual Marxist classics, you are welcome.
No, he's not.
Okay, that has been rescinded. I'm sorry. I should discuss this. You're an idiot.
No,
you are a cancer on anything called communistic. Please go away. Go fly with Alexander Dugin and just fuck right off. So there you go. All right. There we are. Yeah, perfect. So anytime. So those are our social medias. If you want to get in touch with us, we're trying to work on. There might be an interview coming up with some Jeff, who was on the show before from the Independent Socialist Group. They're part of the organization, the ISG, who is a member of the CWI, the Committee for Workers International. They're taking the stance that left groups and socialists and communists should vote for Jill Stein or Cornel West. They do have an article up. We do want to discuss it. Obviously, some people like Doug, which is fine, say don't do it. Some people like say that, we should. That's fine. It's a conversation. My mind's open. I see, not voting for the Democrats is fine. That's our stance. We're on that. What you can do with your vote. I know Mark's talked about, what's that like? It's a checklist of our strength or whatever, or a tally mark. I can't think of that quote off the top of my head, but
yeah, Lenin too. I'm disappointed how many people are overlooking Claudia de la Cruz. Like the PSL actually is a socialist party with a candidate, like even
they're on I know the problem is ballot access is hard to get. She's gonna be I think 26 or 27. Jill Stein I think it's like 48. Oh, the Democrats kicked her off, and they're all like happy cheering it. The Democratic Party.
Well, they're defending democracy, remember?
Yes, it's the real Zelenskys of the world, just cheering on getting people kicked off the ballot, because they don't want to hold primaries in North Carolina and Florida because they care about democracy. But January 6th, something. But yeah, so there's that. Socialist Party USA has a candidate up as well. Doc's daughter is in Stephanie Smolinski are the VP. So there are plenty of candidates. We could probably have them on if we want. Anyway, we'll try to reach out, maybe get a couple candidates too. The election is, God, it's less than 2 months now, right? We're on October.
Yeah.
All right. This was a long episode, but that's okay. Thank you for sticking around, everybody. This was a fun one. All right. So speaking for the group here, keep up the fight, keep up the struggle, keep up your political education. Join us on Tuesdays. You know how to get into contact with us. So speaking for myself, Doug, Aaron, and Joe, we'll see you all next Thursday at 7:30.
Take care.
Yeah.